Hey, I'm Richard Miller with Goldie May, and this is the live genealogy research series. Watch as James Tanner and I, along with invited guests, work through a genealogy problem with no script and no agenda. Maybe you'll learn from the big strategy, maybe you'll learn from the small features and the tools, or maybe you'll just see a better way to do it and you can leave a comment so we can all learn. I hope you find this really helpful. Now, here is the research. All right, we're back for episode number 4. And this time we're going to go back to the case from episode number 1, which was America Jane Overland. You don't have to have seen that episode. And that's kind of the nature of this, is that every time you come back to your own research, you often have to just get reacquainted with the problem. So we're going to get reacquainted with the problem here, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes. And then what we'll do differently this time is I'm going to ask James's preferences or recommendations on what records we should look in to look for America Jane's parents and look for more confirmation of that generation. James and I will probably spend about an hour researching, but you won't see that much. You'll see 20 to 30 minutes because as we're going through the collections, maybe page by page, we'll speed that up so you don't have to see all the tedious part of that, but you'll at least know what we did and you can learn from James's recommendations on where to search. So if that sounds good, we'll jump right in. I'm going to just pull up the project for America Jane Overland, and I'll switch over to the subway map to just get reacquainted with that. This is the case where I'll switch to the state view here. She was born in Grayson County, Kentucky, we think, and then moved to Indiana where she was married, and then Nauvoo, Illinois. We've got maybe one stray errant record showing a son back in Kentucky, but that was probably, I think, in Indiana before then, and then Iowa, and then Utah. So it's kind of the early years that we were looking at. And if you remember back to episode 1, we had this confusion about, I think, the town of Grayson versus the county of Grayson. And when we put her in Grayson County, I think that lined up better with the other family members and things like that. So also from episode 1, I think the one record we found that mentioned her parents was a membership record in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from myheritage.com. So when we looked at that, this is from the Temple Index Bureau file, there was a mention of Father William Overland and Maria Wilson, the mother. I think those were the only records we actually have of her parents' names, if I remember correctly. I think we're looking at Grayson County, Kentucky is kind of probably ground zero for where we're looking, I think. So, if I were to pull up the Grayson County wiki article on the Family Search wiki, let's give that a minute to load. Here we have the county being formed in 1810. And on the map, it's sort of central west Kentucky. And I believe that's sort of right below the border of Indiana where they later lived. So I think that was one of the reasons we thought that was the right part of Kentucky, is that it's close to Spencer County, Indiana, where they moved later. So, okay, I'll turn it over to you, James, to recommend where we ought to go. And we'll just look at a few collections and see what we can find.
One of the things I think that would be very helpful is to go to, why don't you open a new tab and go to archive.org.
Okay.
And then you have the name of the parents. So put in, click on first, don't do a general search like that. Okay. Go to down below the little icons. You've got, the second icon is books. And you might notice that there's going on 35 million books on this website.
Yeah.
These are all completely searchable. And the difference between, let's say, a collection on Google Books and this huge collection, which is probably the largest searchable collection in the world, is that if the book has a copyright, in the Internet Archive has negotiated the right to show it as a library book, so you can check it out for up to 2 weeks and read all the details.
Okay.
So what we're going to do here is search for his name.
Okay, we're going to do text contents, not just the metadata.
Yeah, text. Metadata doesn't help us at all.
Okay, we've done several searches in the Internet Archive, and we've come across a book that mentions a John Overland coming from England who has a 10-year-old son named William Overland. This might be the Overland family we're looking for. So I want to just bookmark this to look at it more later. So I'll go ahead and just log this page in the Goldie May research log. and heart that to come back later and read more. But here we may have a lot of details about various members of the family. And James, how would you look at the accuracy of a book like this? I don't know if we even saw what this book was, but it's a book that was published, possibly
You
50
can
years afterwards.
scroll up a little bit. And you'll see the whole thing. You'll see not in the book, on the whole screen.
Okay, let's see. Right, let me go down like that.
Yeah, see, the book's published in 1953, so somebody did some research.
Okay. Well, good. I'll just check that, and maybe we'll just double check that, barring finding anything better, that this is maybe a good source for confirming what's on the tree. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a will here too, and some things.
Okay. Good.
So this is going to be
some useful stuff here.
You never know.
Yeah.
There's a Nancy. Look ahead. Keep turning pages. There's a Nancy Oberlin, the widow.
Yeah.
There's another William Oberlin, the son of John Oberlin. And then that goes and tells some of his and other information.
Okay. This is good. Okay.
And then there's his will. In other words, when you find this kind of reference book, basically what's going to happen is you're going to have transcriptions of records and all sorts of things in there. So it's going to save a lot of time if it happens to be the right person.
Okay.
But it's interesting that they're kind of all in the same area.
Yeah.
Who are we looking for? We're looking for
America's father and mother. Yeah. William and Maria. Okay. Where else can we go to look, James? What's another?
Okay. Well, this is kind of, I want to get an idea here because this will help us. We can have another tab here. Go to findmypast.org.
Okay.
Or com, excuse me. And
you want to search for
go up to where it says search at the top. Okay. And then this is the search all records. Now put in Oberlin, your last name, just the last name, not a first name. Okay, we have 35,000 results. What that means from my back experience with Find My Past, what this has done is it's looked for that name in all of their millions and millions and millions of records, and for British Isles, and of course the colonies. And so the American colonies. So what we have here is a relative number that shows the relative frequency of that surname.
Okay.
And 35,000 is on the lower end of the less frequent surnames.
Okay.
So
I'm curious if I do Oberlin here.
The top end of this would be like 5 or 6 million, 10 million.
Okay.
So when you're talking only 35,000 references to that surname, now put in William.
Okay. Interesting.
And so now if you had any idea where they were, we could probably guess a birth date. Let's say, so when was America born? And then
so America was born 1824, and then she was.
She was.
So we think
the last child.
Tree thinks 1795. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try 1795 for that. For the date, birth date. And we'll say plus or minus 4 years, 5 years is good. So you're getting down. There are not that many people in the world with that name.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we find out, like you just did with in that archive book, talking about the Oberlin in Indiana, that's not going to be a bunch of people with that name.
Okay, that's helpful.
That raises the chances greatly that that's at least the same family and our relatives.
Okay.
So that's probably a place where you would want to do some more specific research.
Okay. Okay, we've found another book here, History of Work, Spencer and Perry Counties. And Spencer County, Indiana is one of the counties where the family lived. So this book looks pretty good. And so we've found an interesting line here. A noticeable case at the time was State versus William Overland for malicious trespass. He was fined $1 and sentenced to the county jail for 2 minutes. So, James, you pointed out that it'd be worth looking for that case to get more information about that case. And then as well, on the next page, there was the mention of a church, the United Brethren Church called Mount Zion. So that might be worth looking into for some church records on the family, if this is indeed the same family. I'm hopeful that it is because the location seems right, but I could look into that more.
Yeah, you generally are not going to come to any hard and fast conclusions. But if you're at the risk of ignoring what's already been done by lots of people when you don't go look for the books. If you can't, you're going to assume your person was never written about. That's not a very good conclusion if they lived in the United States. So if they're an immigrant and they come in at a certain period of time, you'd at least go to the newspapers because that's another source for information.
Mm-hmm.
I have a consultation coming up with someone looking for a Finnish ancestor, and they end up in a Finnish colony in the United States, and everybody on the census records around them is all from Finland.
Oh, cool.
So they need to look at all those other people and find out where everybody was from, and read the newspapers and look at the deeds and things like that, because that's going to help them find that person.
Very cool. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else you'd suggest we could look at too?
Well, we have the names here. It would be helpful also to look at the people who are listed as siblings. Nancy Tapley or Tapley. That's a very unusual name.
Yeah.
I would check him first. Let's try.
Okay. Just because of the uniqueness of the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He has 3 sources. Let's see what he's got so far. Isn't a marriage? They're all the same record. It's all a marriage record.
Okay.
So this is a really good place to start looking, and I would go back to the books.
Okay.
The history books.
But okay, let me go back to the books, and then let's type in.
No.
Let's try a different spelling.
Okay. No. Okay, that was guess.
Is it worth doing a logo search for him?
Yeah, it's good to do Ancestry. Well,
Ancestry,
family search might help, but Ancestry would be. You'd get a better search initially.
Okay.
Well, there's a whole bunch of more sources for him. So you're going to, you've got a couple of different ones with that same name.
So there's marriage, which we may have had the marriage.
Well, those people are definitely in Spencer County. So let's go back here and do another search. Let's just go online and do a search for Spencer County, Indiana history. And then just drop down and see what we've got. There it is. There's genealogy and history of Spencer County, Indiana.
Okay.
And you've got biographies there. Sometimes when you have these books where they have the biographies, the people had to contribute to get their biography in there.
Okay. So they didn't.
There's the Spencer County Historical Society. Now, this is something that I would think that would be helpful to contact them. When you talk to these people, it's not unusual that you'll find somebody and you'll say, well, my family was Oberlin, and they'll say, oh yeah, I know that family.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they're just sometimes an amazing group of people, because they know everything there is to know. And you see that Spencer County sitting right there on the south border of the little tiny map logo they have up there shows that the county is sitting right on the Ohio River.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right where Kentucky would be.
Mm-hmm.
across the border.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, but you've already have that one confirmation because of a marriage record in Spencer County.
Yeah.
So you
So
can
you
look
would
over
call this
there.
phone number or send an
Oh, you
email
can
to,
call them. Yeah, just
yeah.
call them up. Ask them, if you have any information that you're looking for somebody who lived in Spencer County early on and is listed in some of the books, and wondered if there was some way to get additional information.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you why that's important. The one that always stands out in my mind is Hancock County, Illinois. We went to the Hancock County Historical Society. And while we were in the Historical Society, we're looking at all the records and everything they had. They had a card catalog, you mean an old card catalog with cards, 3x5 cards. And this card catalog was about, I'd say 10 or 12 feet, 15 feet long, and about 4 feet high, probably 200 or 300, probably a couple of hundred drawers. And so I thought, oh, well, this would be interesting. So I went over and pulled out, and looked up. And what it turned out to be an index of everyone who had ever owned property in Hancock County.
Wow. Okay.
And I found a section of cards on Tanner that was about 5 inches thick of cards. And I went through it and I went, wait a minute. Why are there so many Tanners here in Hancock County? And I began looking and realized that all of those people had come from Switzerland. They weren't even vaguely related to me because my family's from but I didn't have any idea before that there were Tanners who'd come from Switzerland. The same name, same spelling.
Yeah.
And so, at least that gave me some perspective. But then I did find my ancestors that lived in Hancock County.
Okay. So just had to weed through those other ones.
I just had to get through the whole thing because they weren't necessarily separated out by where they came from. So it was, it's just a very interesting process as you get to work with some of these historical societies. Mm-hmm. You never know what they have.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good thought.
So
okay. So, so we've done a few things. We thought it might be worth looking for the brother of America, Tapley, because of his unique name. And we checked on Ancestry, didn't find really anything new. And we also checked on archive.org, but didn't find anything helpful there. We also searched for Spencer County, Indiana history, and we found some biographies online, didn't see anything there. And then we found the Spencer County Historical Society. And so we could contact them to just see what they might know about this Overland family.
That's a good summary. Let's go back now to the main. Yeah. Let's go to William. Let's go back to William.
So America's father, William.
Yeah. Now, his middle name is Luce.
Apparently, right? We found the one record where it said it was William I. Overland.
Oh,
but then
okay. Well, let's not spend some time on that. That was just a thought because we've been running into Luce in some of these records.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting too. Like, I mean, apparently her father's middle name was Lucy, and then she also married a William Lucy Davis. So I don't know if but yeah, we don't have records that's
true. There may be just some confusion over what the name because of the fact that she was married to somebody with that name.
Yeah.
We find all sorts of times middle names are kind of suspect because not too frequently, but it's not far from not unknown. In other words, we couldn't say it was common, but it was not uncommon to have people later stick in middle names because they were distinguishing them from someone else or for whatever reason. I don't even know. Sometimes the reason just is totally can't figure out why in the world they did that.
Okay.
That we have two of them in my line. One of them is David Nathan Thomas, and we have no record ever showing that his middle name was Nathan. And then we have my John Morgan, and they always have him with a middle name, and that he never had a middle name. There's no record that ever showed he had a middle name or even ever signed his name with a middle name. And they call him John Hamilton Morgan, and that's there's nobody that ever has a record that says his name was Hamilton. Okay, let's look at some other things that we can look at, because we're started in on Spencer County, but we didn't look at Luce County, Luce County, and that seems to be more commonly named. So let's go back and start through
Luce was a township in the county, I believe.
Yeah, well, let's look for Luce, Indiana.
Okay. Yeah. And you may just do like a, oops.
Yeah, let's do a general search.
Okay.
There's Wikipedia. What about history? Put up history, the word history after it.
That might be the same page we were
on. Here's biographies and everything else in genealogy trails. Try that.
Okay.
So now we're down to, this is only a couple of people. Well, not a couple, quite a few.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try.
Okay.
There's schools. Let's try that. Try Overland and that, or yeah. Okay. Well, if it the interesting thing is though that let's go back to more searching out of Luce County or Luce Township. Okay. But let's go back to the search, the general search for these people that you did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And keep going down.
Okay.
There's another one, of history. That's very brief.
Very brief. Okay.
That's works. That's maps. Okay. On the maps, let's go to the BYU Family History Library website. Now, we're not going to be able to look at it, but at least we can point to this. If you go down on the right-hand side, almost to the bottom, it says there's a website called History Geo. And this is a subscription site, but it's available through the library.
Okay.
You're not going to have to, don't worry about signing in. Just go look for History Geo online.
Just search for that, History Geo.
Mm-hmm. See, there it is. See the website. Okay, this subscription site. And the first part of it is the First Landowners Project. And what it has is the first landowners in all 29 of the public land states in the continental United States, plus Texas. So anybody who was the first landowner in that county, any place in those states, is listed, and the maps show exactly where they lived, the Very township, cool. that the homesteads that they had.
Okay.
So this is this very valuable little website. It's a subscription website. You'd have to have do a lot of searching to justify that, but it's very fast. Now, you might just try calling the BYU library and asking somebody to look it up for you. They might do it.
Okay.
So if you get on our virtual help desk, they might just pull that up and let you see whether you can find your ancestor.
Great. Okay.
Now, here's another thing that I would suggest is looking once again for just a general search.
Okay.
And let's do Spencer County land records. Okay, here's the Spencer County Clerk land records. Now, this gets you outside of of what you would normally think of as genealogical records, but they're just as valuable as you can think of. Depending on which way they have this, whether they have it online, but if they have an online search, you can, go up where it says view records online. No, okay, they're wanting to charge for their records. Oh, they have county. There you go. They're Spencer County. Oh no, they're charging money for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so depending, it's kind of spotty going across the United States, but places like Utah and Arizona, you can search every land record that ever was recorded.
So the county clerk would have records for now, but also
the county recorder.
Okay.
So why don't you look on the county recorder site for Spencer? No, we've already figured out that they are Oh, here's the deeds. Oh, well, that's deed records.
Okay, family search. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a family search. That's 18 to 1886. That's the time period we're
Be the
looking
right
for.
period, yeah.
So here's all the records here. Now it's showing that they're restricted
Okay.
unless you're
Same
not
thing
signed
there.
in.
Need to go to the library, and
Are you signed in?
I am signed in, but is that
Oh,
restricted
okay.
to the library?
Yeah. You're going to have to be in the library in a family history center or library to see those records. For me, that would be the best one because it will confirm usually the names of some of the family members, and also it's possible the whole family, but it generally will also have the name of the spouses. So you're really
Good.
you're really needing to always look through your land and property records, and noticing as you're going down the list of records that are already attached, at the categories of records that aren't attached. And that have to be there if those people lived in those areas.
Sorry, what do you mean by attached? You mean attached to the tree?
No, yeah, as a source.
Yeah. Okay.
The sources that are
Yeah.
listed, and then think about what's not there. So the probate records and tax records, and let's go back, because I don't think you had a probate record for America's father.
Husband, but if I go back to America's father,
you only have two sources: a tax record and a family tree. The ancestry family trees is not a source.
Yeah.
Basically, no research has been done that's found anything specifically on him. So those records that we have mentioning him in those counties on archive.org are tremendously helpful.
Okay.
Because they give you a point that he's there. Now, the second thing, it may turn out that his wife's name's different than the one they have that you've already listed, because you don't have a marriage record or anything.
Yeah.
But Letitia,
all we have is, we saw that name Letitia before, didn't we?
Yeah, we've seen that in the.
And this is I think this would be William Overland, who was born 1765 in London. And then I think he's the one that was mentioned as the 10-year-old that came over with his father. Yeah.
So that is that record. This is it. So that's book we found is this family. Okay. Well, that there's your connection right there. So we've got a really good start on that connection.
Good. Okay. James, anything else that we?
Oh, well, yeah. There's never an end.
Believe me. So for the purposes of our video, is that a good spot to just?
Yeah, we're just going to have to call it an end here, because regardless of what you're thinking and whether the records you think you've probably, if you think you've exhausted the records, you just need to get, reoriented as to how the records work, because you're never going to run out of records for people in the United States, in America, back to 1620. You're just going to find, every time you keep looking, you'll find more records.
You got to keep going then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the only people that are exempt from that are people who arrived at a specific point in time. Obviously, you can't find records before they got here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to just go ahead and save my work here to a workspace. We've opened a bunch of tabs, and I'll just save those so I can review any of those later. And we have our work cut out for us to keep going.
Okay.
Thanks, James.
Okay.
Appreciate your thoughts.
See you next time.
See you next time.